to a special Saturday episode of the Prestige Junkie Podcast. I am, as always, Katie Rich, and I'm here sharing with you the conversation that I had with Julianne Nicholson. She is a double Emmy nominee this year, both for her supporting turn on the drama Paradise and for her role as a guest actress playing the wonderfully unhinged dance mom on Hacks. The two roles are wonderfully, wildly different from each other, but that's probably what you should expect from Julianne Nicholson at this point in her career. As she tells me in our conversation about a life of showing up on different TV shows for a few episodes and taking on a lot of different characters across all of those, you kind of have to show up ready for anything as a working actor. She also tells me what a difference it made to come to the set of Paradise and work not just with people she really trusted, like the creator Dan Fogelman and star Sterling K. Brown, but someone who she knew really well. She and James Marsden got their start together on Ally McBeal way back in the very beginning of their careers. And then on Hacks, she tells me there was a lot of confidence and safety in showing up on a show that's been going for so long and really knows what it is, and it allowed her to play this pretty out there character as Dance Mom. You can hear all of that and much more in my conversation with double Emmy nominee Julianne Nicholson. So thank you for being back and talking to me about both of these shows. You talked to my friend Joe Reed at Vulture before the Emmy nominations, and you had been looking back on the Mayor of Easttown Emmy year and said that it was Sterling K. Brown who kept the peace on the red carpet when things threatened to devolve into chaos.
Yes.
Was that your first interaction with him? Did you know him at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
And I hadn't actually even met him. I had just, of course, knew who he was and heard his voice sort of shouting above the din of the crowd. And then actually later that night, I bumped into him as I was moving through the crowd, or he was, and he said, "Congratulations." He said, "Can I have a hug?" And so we hugged it out. So that was our first, so I had a sweet first meeting with him.
How often do you manage to because those events can be so crazy, and especially when you win, everyone wants to talk to you. How hard is it to have a kind of genuine connection with somebody like that?
It's not that hard. They're brief, but you can have them. You can find them, especially with someone like him.
Sure.
There's some really nice people out there.
That is such a nice way to think about Hollywood, which is very rarely discussed in those terms.
I know. I mean, the other version is also true, but both sides are true, I think.
Do you think that this is going to sound so hippy-dippy, but if you put niceness out to people, that it will come back to you, that that you manage to find the people around yourself who will give that to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think you sort of, especially at this age, I think people can read what you're open to receiving. And so maybe that informs or what you'll put up with. I have to say, one of Dan Fogelman's huge strengths is just really picking nice people, just genuinely down to earth, nice people. 'Cause he is one himself. And everyone on this cast, for instance, they're just nice.
Was Dan Fogelman someone you had any interaction with? Was he from out of the blue when Paradise came your way? Okay.
Yes, that was completely out of the blue. So that was exciting.
How did you figure out that he was real nice and not just Hollywood air kiss nice? Is there a secret?
For one, it's just been being in his company, and most of his stories are self-deprecating in a very genuine way. He's not trying to protect any image of himself.
Sure.
He's very funny. And just not mean. I also loved in our very first meeting, which was on a Zoom, he was so excited about John Beaver's audition that he showed it to me, in our interview. John hadn't got the part yet, but he was look at this guy. I think it's going to be him. The studio, I think, wanted a name, but, Dan was really in his corner. And John also is one of the nicest guys, just fully decent, a hardworking guy who's finally getting a moment, which I'm delighted by.
Yeah. Well, I love the way that you've sung James Marsden's praises too. And because it sounds maybe trauma bonded is overstating it, but having been on TV together at the end of a TV show with Ally McBeal, it does sound like that's a real bonding experience that has lasted you both.
That was hugely bonding, and actually wasn't as traumatic as you might expect because we were in the final season. It was almost like they got the drama out of the way, but we did bond because it was we were the four newbies together, me, him, Josh Hopkins, and Regina Hall. So we kind of bonded just because for that reason.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious. It's been so nice to be reunited with him.
Yeah.
We just get each other. He makes me laugh. Like, it's so easy.
I mean, the TV has changed so much since Ally McBeal, and you've, surfed so many of those different waves. So, like, I mean, is the process of signing on to something like Paradise, I mean, you're in a different place in your career, so it's not just that the industry has changed, but is there any comparison to how you started in Ally McBeal to how you start on Paradise? Is it a totally different world?
It is a different world. Almost even before Ally, there used to be, of course, we hear about the like pilot season.
Sure.
Because it was all network. So there was that. There was testing. Maybe people still test. I don't know. But there was more of like a regular process to it where I feel like that's all gone out the window and people can get jobs by any number of avenues now. So yeah, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
Also, when you signed on to do a show, then you're signing on for like 22 episodes for maybe 5 years,
maybe 10 years.
Or
right?
nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, maybe we'll do, 7 episodes for one season. And so it's a little bit like how you think about that. Yeah. How you attach yourself to things is shifted. Because also, though, that affects like financially, because, when you're working 22 episodes, it's a different mindset. So working 8 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something like Mayor of Easttown can obviously be such a huge thing for your career, but it's still only, a couple months of a job. And then you have to go find another job. Like, it is, there's a grind that's required of it that feels like it was not there.
Definitely. But I personally don't mind that because I was never interested in signing on to 5 to 10 years of show anyway. So this actually works for me, but it is definitely more, it's rolling. Like, there's never like, oh, I've got this thing to, fall back on or rely on. Also, people kill characters now, by the way. like 10, 20 years ago, like, we knew our heroes. We knew they were going to be there every season. And that is not the case anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially playing a villain on Paradise. Like, feels like your head's on the spike at every possible moment.
I remember watching that first season of Game of Thrones and thinking like, okay, Sean Bean, here's our hero. And then he gets killed like immediately. It's like, whoa. Like,
absolutely,
no one is safe, which I like because it leaves us a little bit more of, we just have to pay attention.
Well, we were saying before we started, you're working on season 2 of Paradise now. We won't get into details about that. But for season 1, like, does Dan tell you like, okay, you're going to be on for this full season and maybe in the future, like, how much of a guarantee do you get of employment when you sign on to this show?
I'm trying to remember, but I don't think a lot. I honestly, because I've been doing this so long, I'm here today. I've read these episodes, but I never expect anything. I have friends who have, even recently, who have been on shows which you would assume would be on for years and is canceled after 2 seasons. So it's like, I never, ever have expectations. And I also don't have hard feelings. Like, it's fine. I'll get another job. It's okay. Yeah.
How long have you had that no hard feelings feeling? Like, did that take thick skin over time?
Yeah. it was not, I never had hard feelings, but it would, it would sting in a different way. But I would say probably for the last 10 years or so, it's been easier to trust that something else will come.
Was there something that like made you feel like you had reached to a certain level where you got to that? Like, you said 10 years, so that's before Mayor of Easttown. So was there something else that made you feel like you landed?
I would say doing August Osage County.
Sure. With that cast.
Because with that cast, like right before, I mean, I would say the 15, 20 years before that, it's definitely like you have good years and bad years. And you have years where you're doing like 2 episodes of, a show on USA Network. And like, that's your year. And you're like, Though in hindsight, I'm grateful because that's when I had young children. So I was home like a lot. But I would say I had a moment right before August Osage County, which was a bit spare. And then I got a Sam Shepard play in New York. And then right after that, I got August Osage County. And it was really being invited, as you say, into that cast that gave me confidence that I could be in that room, but also, outside eyes. It's just like, oh, well, if she's with those people, then maybe she can act too.
Well, it bumps up what people would have seen you for. And I always think casting directors watch everything, but obviously there are things that are more visible than others that just put you on people's radar, I assume.
Definitely. And that's been my whole career. I feel like that's still happening. Like you doing it. And then people are, yeah.
What
I still do that.
So then playing a villain on Paradise, I think you had said it was really the first time you'd ever played a villain, which is, when you've worked so long, it's kind of fascinating. You'd think somewhere in there you would have, I don't know, threatened somebody. But
I know.
What is that? Does that change something about what kind of radar you're on or how people talk to you or think? I mean, obviously Dance Mom is right there with Hacks, but
yeah,
did that villain thing specific fit?
I think it's always exciting to be thought of in like a new light and a different light. Yeah. So that's cool. And again, as you mentioned, like it just opens people's eyes to like, okay, it's not just this one thing that she can do. And to have the combination of Sinatra and Dance Mom, two of the best names of the season.
Absolutely. It's hard to think of any others.
So, yeah. Having that like 1-2 punch of two things that people haven't seen me do before, like that felt really exciting and definitely has made people sit up a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Well, and you had a real like transformation, like Dance Mom goes through it over the course of that season. So that's a lot of different things to bring out in you in a short period of time.
Yeah, that was definitely, they packed it in there with her, which was such like so fun. Cause I think, I was talking to somebody the other day and he was like, I knew you were going to be on it. And I thought maybe like, oh, that's fun. Maybe she'll be an agent. Maybe she'll be this, but like, sure. No one was expecting.
Yeah.
The ride that is Dance Mom.
Did you feel like had you been considered a lot for like the like small town, like naive mom thing? Like, I don't know. I think I would think of you as more of the agent types than that type. Like, I don't know if that felt like a change for you as someone who was kind of like wide-eyed to the extent that Dance Mom is when we first meet her.
I feel like I had like earlier in my career, I did more sort of like wide-eyed or innocence or something like that, but not a middle-aged innocence. No, that was new territory to mine.
I find something so relatable that like the scene where Jimmy and Kayla take her out and like it's, Margaret is at lunch or whatever it is. And I don't live in LA either. And every time I'm there, I feel like there is just that inner part of me being like, look at what everybody's wearing. Like I relate to that so much. I wonder if that's in you somewhere too.
Definitely. The first time I moved to LA, I was 20 and I worked at this place called Flora Kitchen. I worked behind this, like the lunch counter. And like, I remember one time, Meg Ryan and Rosanna Arquette came in.
Oh man.
This was in like 91 or 92. Yeah. So it was like Pete. And I was just like, serving them salads. Like what? They go to stores, they eat like, and I feel like I still do have that. Even when I go to events sometimes, I'm like, how are these people all gathered in one place? Like, it doesn't make sense.
There are definitely still some faces in the world where like seeing them in real life is very like it's weird that you're 3-dimensional. Like I'm so used to you being something else.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, Meryl Streep being one of them for August Osage County, an adjustment process.
That was huge. And to sit next to her at that dinner table scene, I literally was pinching myself. So I think we did that in like 4 days or something. And just to sit next to her and be in her presence and watch her do her thing was definitely, something a TED Talk on steroids. Yeah.
I love what you said about coming onto Hacks and knowing you had to do this character that's going all over the place, doing it all in a week. But that the fact that the show had been on so long that you knew that they knew what they were doing and they knew what they wanted and would kind of, hold you up when you needed that. And I wonder what that's, how that's different when you are on a show that's been on for a while, of that sense of confidence you can have of knowing that this world is established.
Yeah, it's totally, it's basically that. They've won Best Comedy for I don't know, every year, at least the last 2 years.
No, just this last 1 year. It was a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, they beat the Bear. That was the whole thing.
Oh right. But I think nominated every year. They're just and I was a fan of the show, so I knew what they did, and I knew that like every guest star that I've seen on that show shines. Mm-hmm. And also when you walk on the set, it's a really happy place. Like they all know what they're making. They know how special it is. They're proud of it. So you're walking onto a set where it's relaxed, happy, confident. And that just allows me to relax. Like I just trusted them implicitly. And then you can just go for it. I don't feel like I have to be watching myself. Like they're doing that.
Yeah. So do you do like for the kind of most extreme scenes that you do there, do you really just like ratchet it up to 11 and, they'll tell you if it needs to be 15 or they'll tell you if you need to dial it back?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Especially like, for instance, like that dancing, the Coke scene in the end when I'm Eric Balfour and I are dancing. It's like, I'm just going to go for it. And if you need, less or more, just say. And they always give direction as you're going. Like they'll say like, try this or do this. And I love that. I love ideas. Like, help me. Like, because we don't know what's the right idea and you can find it that way.
Yeah. Have you ever been a dancer before this? How new was that?
No. So I danced in quotes here. When I was like in high school, like I took tap and jazz for 5 years. So I mean, you might have noticed a little bit of that in dance off. I'm joking, but I do love to dance. But but my dancing doesn't look like Dance Mom's dancing for the record. But I'm into it. I like being in my body. It's fun. I remember I actually had to dance on Ally McBeal. James and I danced on Ally McBeal. He had to sing and I danced.
I bet he's a good dancer. I mean, I guess I've seen him in like Hairspray and stuff. I just feel like it's there.
Yeah. He can do it all.
Well, so the set of Paradise, you're talking about being people you wanted to work with. I imagine it's also a happy set, but it's a different vibe too. And it's also new. Like you guys are building the thing that you're talking about in Hack. So what was that part of it like being part of that, of establishing this world? I mean, Dan obviously had a lot of confidence in what the story was, but how was the building process of that?
Luckily, we had This Is Us to sort of look at, and Dan's writing over the years and his previous collaborations with Sterling and Sterling's taste. So there were things in place that allowed already a certain amount of trust. Also, Dan's excitement about the show. Like he was the cheerleader the first season. He would come to set. He would tell us what he was seeing in the editing room and what was coming together. And that's really infectious. Yeah. And then it was just, I loved the scripts. So it all starts there. And like, I was blown away when I watched the show, like visually, because I couldn't imagine the enormity of that world and what they did, especially in that episode 7, the penultimate episode where it all goes wrong.
I watched that right before I took a flight, which was a terrible idea.
That's not
a bad idea.
Just cash. But I felt like in my own, I could actually though visualize the story, and I felt like connected to these people as I was reading it. Yeah. And I love a first season of a show that works because everyone's so just like naive. They're just doing it with heart. Like they have no idea what it's going to be or how people will receive it. But I don't know. I find it very moving that everybody's
it's optimistic,
trying to
You're
do
all
it.
taking
It's very
a leap of
optimistic.
faith.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about, I talked to you last summer about Janet Planet and like those people like making the theater out in the woods of Massachusetts. And like, it's very different, but it's the same thing of like, let's come together and try something. There's a spirit there that's the same.
I think it feels like that. I always love that. I feel like you can kind of see that sometimes in shows too. Like sometimes for the better, like Hacks, and sometimes not so good, where you feel people are like watching themselves or in on the joke. But I like a first season.
Well, it's always interesting when like you see a show grow and you go back, like, the first season of The Office or 30 Rock or something, where it's like, it's there, but it's not fully there yet. And having the chance to grow, what a gift to be able to build something in that way.
Totally. I agree.
So with Paradise, you're keeping this huge secret for such a long time. Like the entire premise of the show is revealed at the end of the first episode. And I don't know how much like promo you guys had to do before anyone had ever seen any episodes, but how were you at secret keeping? What was that like?
I'm pretty good at secret keeping, but as I mentioned, like talking about this current season that we're filming, it's like, I'm thinking, okay, what can I say? Because certain things are revealed at the end of the first season that give you a clue as to what's happening, but you don't want to, make any, I don't want any spoilers. I don't want to give anything away. Like people, people
really do want them. Like they want the secrets too. Yeah.
Definitely. And people have real ideas about what's going down in the bunker. So I don't want to like disavow anyone of their,
Are you
their
getting
ideas.
are people telling you their theories? Because this is a real theory show.
Not me so much, but people have other like cast members and stuff have told me about, people on like TikTok or whatever, like spilling, what they think is going on. And people get pretty wild with their imaginations.
Yeah. I think you said for Dance Mom, you didn't go down TikTok, but it was Instagram. Like you had like stay off of TikTok. It was too deep of a rabbit hole.
Yes, exactly. I got enough from from the gram.
Yeah, seriously. The scene in Paradise where I feel like I really locked into it, I think it's at the beginning of the second episode where you're standing over this vast cavern and say, build me a city, like the most dramatic supervillain moment possible. Like, are you on just a full green screen studio soundstage doing that?
So it's so funny you should ask that. Because that's one of the moments I was thinking about where like I couldn't imagine that space. So we filmed in this it's an old hangar, but it housed blimps, multiple blimps.
Wow.
So it was huge, but there was green screen in there as well. Cause obviously like a helicopter flies in. So that one was like a little bit of, we were in an actual location, but right now we're doing some filming with green screen. And so, someone will show you on the screen, like what that's supposed to be, but like how this show in particular comes together in editing, I don't know that I've had that experience before where there's so much brought to life in post, and it's incredible.
You're ready for like a Marvel movie or, whatever, Avatar, or whatever, like fully imagined worlds.
Exactly. Or just somebody's like walking around with a tennis ball for me to talk to.
Do you usually watch your stuff in that way and kind of see how it unfolds on screen? Do you have any qualms about it?
I do have qualms about it, and it kind of depends. Like, I don't know why, but project to project, if I'm going to watch it these days, and I'm less and less likely. I got hooked on Paradise by accident. I wasn't planning on watching it, but they had a screening of episode 1 during a lunch break. So I was like, I'm here, I'm working. Okay. I'm going to watch it. Cause it feels also kind of rude if you don't. It's like the actors in the trailer.
You're there with the whole crew that worked on it. Yeah.
And I'll see you guys after. And then we went to Paris to do a premiere there, and they aired the 4th episode, which is one of my favorite episodes. That's Uncle, like Billy Pace's story, like his of when he's little and what happens at the end. And we watched it in a theater, so on like a big screen, and it blew me away. I was like, all right. I was like, well, shit, Dan, I guess I'm watching the show, because I was sat next to him. I'm like, oh my God, he's so good.
I think a lot of it, like, I try to watch as much as I can, but, sometimes you're watching things out of obligation. Sometimes you're like, oh, I actually have to know what's going to happen next. And Paradise really can sink its claws in that way.
Yeah, it was so fun to have people get into it in that way and want to know what's coming. And that was really exciting. Yeah. It's so fun, when you go to do press, because you never know when you're like, oh, I think they really like it.
Well, because you can kind of tell, right? When people are being polite versus like genuine enthusiasm.
For sure.
Yeah, we're not actors.
Yeah. When people come in and they want to talk to you before the cameras are rolling, it's a good sign.
Yeah. That does it for today's very special Saturday episode. We'll be back with another regular episode next week. This podcast is edited by Brett Fuchs and produced by Brett Fuchs and me. Our theme music is by Dave Gonzalez. Subscribe to the Prestige Junkie newsletter at theankler.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And as a reminder, if you join our members-only Prestige Junkie After Party for just $5 a month, you can get video versions of all of our podcasts, special bonus episodes, subscriber chats, call-in shows, all kinds of stuff. Please join us there. We'll see you next week.